guys, today we're playing. Today we're reacting to his stories. I love his stories. Ooh, 17 giveaway. I did subscribe already a while ago. At 4 million, I think he does. We are going to be reacting to his stories. His videos are fire. My last, I think, in a long time of reactions. I haven't reacted to anything in a while. I think 5 months. So this will be fun, and I get to see his stories while recording, and I love to watch his stories. I have seen a bunch of his movie-ish ones. Colby has his own channel. It's not out right now. When my video comes out, when this video comes out, it will be out.
What is it gonna be?
It is out right now. Colby's just playing Rivals. He's right here. Let's just jump into it. Let's start with I saw this. It's really good. Grandpa caught Emma.
My grandpa said he was going to become the best Pokemon collector in his retirement home. It started because I brought some packs on a visit. I figured he'd like the artwork. He watched me open them, then asked why the little turtle guy wasn't in more of them. I explained chase cards and pull rates. He nodded, told me he used to collect baseball cards as a kid, and asked if I was coming back next week. On my way out, I handed him a booster pack and told him it was the beginning of his collection. I had no idea how right I was. At the card shop that week, he picked packs based entirely on which ones had the best art on the wrapper. A collector nearby shook his head and explained pull rates and probability. Grandpa listened, thanked him, and immediately pulled the chase card, set it on the counter, then asked if the little spiky mouse was in the set. He kept buying packs that way, kept pulling chase cards. By my next visit, he had a binder full of cards I'd never seen in person. I tried to explain what he had. He nodded politely and asked again about the turtle. When a local tournament came up, I built him a deck and walked him in. A kid spent 5 minutes breaking down the rules before their match. Grandpa won, thanked him for the explanation, and told me on the way out he still wasn't totally sure how the game worked. That win qualified him for regionals. I signed him up and told him it was just a bigger version of the local. He asked if he should bring the turtle card he'd finally found. I said yes. He went in like always, made the top bracket. Oh my God! He asked if I wanted lunch. I pulled up the leaderboards and showed him his ranking. He barely glanced at it. You know, I don't really care about any of that. I asked what he meant. He shrugged. I just like hanging out with you, kid. He'd learned an entire card game and beaten half the region without once caring if he won. I thought about that booster pack I handed him on the way out the door. The beginning of his collection, I'd said. I didn't know he was collecting something else entirely. My grandpa said he was going to become the...
Wait, where was the bracket that he showed?
I just like... glanced at it. You know, I don't really care about cards he'd finally found. I said yes. He went in like always, made the top bracket, and walking out, he asked if I wanted lunch. I pulled up the leaderboards.
Wait.
That level, oh my God, that was too good.
I can't, I don't.
No spammers, no.
Maybe it's I don't know. Pikachu spiky mouths. I'll see that he's probably okay, cool.
My twin brother texted me at 6:48 p.m. My date will be there at 7. Her name is Claire. Please pretend to be me. He was stuck 3 states away. His flight wasn't moving, and I had 13 minutes with zero information. Claire knocked at 7:02, holding 2 grocery bags. I got everything on your list, she said, walking past me into the kitchen. Shallots, good olive oil, fresh pasta, everything for your grandmother's carbonara. She set the bags down and smiled. I've been thinking about this all week. I rubbed my face, trying to remember what a shallot was. Right, I said. The carbonara. She tied on an apron and looked at me expectantly while I opened the bag and stared at it like a crime scene. I found pasta, which was the full extent of my knowledge, then put a pot on the stove and turned every burner to high because I didn't know which knob matched which flame. You okay? I nearly dropped the spatula, just getting in the zone. Under the counter, I texted my brother, what is a shallot? Claire told me about her week while I nodded, sweated, and dumped the pasta in before the water boiled because I needed to look busy. She stopped mid-sentence. Did you just put pasta in cold water? I stood straighter. I do it differently. It's a texture texture thing. She raised her eyebrow at me. Your grandmother taught you that? The shallot rolled off the cutting board onto the floor. She was unconventional. I survived 20 more minutes by asking questions whenever she looked at the stove and refilling her wine whenever she looked at me. The carbonara came out as a pale clump. I played it in 2 bowls like a small surrender. She took 1 bite, chewed slowly, then brought her napkin to her mouth and politely spit the food out. This is exactly how my ex made it, she said. He couldn't cook either. I put my fork down and put both of my hands on the table. Claire, I have to tell you something. She picked up her wine. I know. I froze. Matthew is lactose intolerant, she said. There's half a cup of Parmesan in that carbonara. She swirled her glass. I figured it out around the shallots. My mouth hung open in shock. You're funnier than him, she said. Same face though. My twin brother texted me at 6:40.
Oh, nah.
My ex
You got the Riz. Kind of. What type of brother doesn't know that his... Who needs Netflix when you have this message? Who needs Netflix? We have this.
Train for a 6'7" basketball player at our school.
Why?
Pointed at the 2-foot guy on our bench and
2
laughed.
foot?
I know I just transferred to this school. But why is he even on the
Why?
team? Bristol
Why is he
slid off the bench, barely cleared the giant's knee, and
So
said,
look
I
at that
challenge
one.
your ah to a
Look at
one-on-one.
that.
First to 5. Loser buys the
But
other
2
lunch the rest
feet
of the year. The
crazy.
giant
What
grinned
that
and
mean?
responded, easy. We all felt bad because no one ever played Bristol before, and none of us knew what to expect. They ran out to the court, and the giant scored the first bucket shooting straight over Bristol's
Kobe.
head, like he wasn't even there. Soon the score was 4-0, and he held the ball
Yeah.
high above Bristol's head
sense.
and grinned. Come reach for it, little man. He made Bristol struggle to get the ball for 2 whole minutes before he finally rolled it to him. Here, consider this charity,
Kobe.
little one. Bristol bounced the ball
Get me out!
twice,
Bro,
and his
just-
whole face went cold. He slipped between the
Kobe.
giant's legs, and in
Why?
seconds he had the ball
No.
going through the hoop. He spun past
Oh,
him for the
holy
next ball and
Kobe.
the next. Then he crossed him so hard, the giant slipped and sat down on the floor, and Bristol
giant?
walked in the layup. We all had our eyes glued to the court, none of us on our phones, and the score was 4-4. The giant stomped his large foot on the ground. You got lucky. The whole team leaned forward in their seats, and one kid was even eating popcorn. Bristol dribbled to the
Oh
top,
my
looked up
God.
at a rim 10 feet above him, and took off. He went up, and
Oh,
somehow
what?
threw it down with both hands. The backboard was still shaking, and I was on my feet screaming with everyone else. Bristol's been sitting on that bench for 2 years, and none of us knew that we'd end up feeling sorry for the wrong guy. The giant bought Bristol lunch every day after that, and on the first day he picked him up, stood him on top of the bench, and sat down on the floor at his feet. For that second, the smallest kid in the whole school was looking down at the giant. A 6'7" basketball.
Holy
And
bear!
now that this is okay.
I shot up out of bed the second
I
I
meant
heard
to
glass
do that.
shattering,
Oh,
grabbed
yeah.
my trusty
Oh,
bat from
this is
underneath
so-
and flew down the
this is-
stairs
I've
before I
seen
could
this.
think.
This is
A
really
shattered
good.
vase was spread across the floor, and my dog's crate sat wide open, empty. I called
I've seen
Biscuit's
this.
name through the whole house and got nothing back. Then I spotted a cracked phone glowing in the
kinda
broken
loud.
glass, dropped by whoever knocked the vase over running out. The screen had
Vase.
one message on it. Bring the
Vase.
Frenchie to the warehouse on Lowell by 6. I jumped up and down in my kitchen. This is sick. This is literally John
Do it.
Wick. So I
John
tossed the bat
Wick?
aside, dropped onto the couch,
No,
and
you're
watched the
watching
whole
a
movie again to
movie?
pump myself up.
Get
Then I
into
threw
it.
on
You're
my
watching
only suit and
movies
tie,
insane.
slid on a pair of blacked out shades, and spun a
Get
pencil
into the
once
movie.
before holstering it in my jacket like a gun. They have no idea who they just messed with.
Cody.
Every last one of them is about to face my wrath. I pushed through the warehouse door, and the first guy charged me, so I threw the hardest punch of my life, missed, and hit the wall behind him. While I shook out my hand, he wound up to swing, so I flinched and tripped into a stack of
Oh my
pallets.
God.
They toppled onto his head and knocked him out cold.
Why are you
I cracked
looking
my
the
neck
wrong
like
way?
I'd meant to do that. Another guy pulled a gun, but right as he aimed, my cheap suit pants split down the
Team it.
back. I bent down to check just as he fired, so the bullet sailed over my head, pinged off a metal pole, and ricocheted back into him. He
Oh
crumpled
my
to the floor
God.
crying. I followed the barking to a cage in the back, guarded by the biggest man I'd ever seen. He lifted me off the floor
biggest
by my
man you
collar
ever
while my
saw?
legs kicked at nothing.
Does that
But
mean
Biscuit
so
shoved
dead,
his squeaky
so
bone
dead,
through the
so-
bars. The giant stepped
God,
back
that
onto
was
it,
huge.
and 400 pounds came down on his own head. I grabbed
The dog
Biscuit
was
and
a
held him
human.
tight. Then the
I was
boss
like, why
rounded
is
the
he
corner with a
nipping him
gun,
there?
so I panicked and threw my pencil as hard as I could, just like the movie. It missed by a mile, clipped a propane tank, and the blast sent him through the window into the night sky like a rocket. The place caught fire, so I carried Biscuit out, and the second we cleared the door, the warehouse
That's on
exploded
which
behind
side?
us, and I never
Say
looked
it, I
back.
love
I
you.
didn't land a single punch in there, but when people ask how one guy leveled a warehouse and got his dog back, I fix my tie and say I trained for it. I shot
Bro
up out-
used all of his look on for the next 10 lifetimes.
I grabbed my yellow helmet at the end of my shift, but it wouldn't
The
come
prankster
off. I
got
felt it with my
pranked.
fingers and found a ridge of dried glue sealing it to my hair.
Wait,
I
he
heard
got
someone
extra
laughing
later?
behind me and turned around to see my coworker Raymond filming me with the super glue tube clipped to his belt. Dude, I totally got you, but this was my final straw. Over the last few years, he'd cut the brakes on my motorbike, flirted with my girlfriend in front of me, all in the name of a prank. But this was too far. I drove home with the helmet still glued on. I tried dish soap to get it off, then cooking oil, then ice down my neck, but the glue wouldn't budge. By midnight, there was only one thing left to try. I plugged in the clippers and ran them up my own skull, watching years of hair drop into the sink until the helmet slid free. The bald guy in the mirror stared back at me. Tomorrow we're gonna get his ass. Next morning, I walked onto the site
Family
bald,
friendly.
hat in hand, and when Raymond saw me, he couldn't resist laughing. Dude, you look like a bowling ball. And while he was keeled over, distracted by his own prank, I quickly clogged up the tube of super glue he had on his tool belt. When he was done, he pulled it off and crouched behind the new kid's chair, getting ready to prank him too. But when he squeezed, nothing came out. He squeezed harder, shook it, and peeked into the hole with one eye. What's going on? He tried again, and suddenly the tube burst across his hand in a thick white rope. He wiped it on the new kid's sleeve, but his fingers stuck fast. The kid tore away. Raymond grabbed the rail to catch himself, but his palm welded to the bar. He grabbed his phone for help, but it bonded to his palm, screen out, still filming his own face. Guys, get it off, get it off. One by one, the crew pulled out their phones and filmed the man who'd filmed all of them.
One
I
guy's
walked over,
not even
didn't touch
doing
him,
it.
and pointed. Dude, I totally got you. I grabbed my yellow
Alright,
helmet at the end. The cop grabbed my skateboard out of my hands, snapped it in half over his knee, and threw it in the trunk like it was a weapon. I was 17, walking home from the gas station with my board under one arm. You kids think sidewalks are racetracks, he said. I'm not even riding it. That was all I got out before he screamed, "Stop resisting," and hit me chest first into the pavement. My cheek scraped concrete. His knee dug into my back. He cuffed me so tight my fingers started buzzing. Then he held up a citation.
You don't
and
run away
said,
from my
$30 for
friend.
riding after dark. He shoved me into the back seat and slammed the door. The cruiser smelled like old coffee and sweat. He kept my skateboard in the trunk and kept tapping the steering wheel, singing terrible country music over the radio, drifting over the yellow line like the road belonged to him. Then he pulled into a bar parking lot. I sat up straight. This isn't the station. He looked at me in the rearview mirror. I need to investigate something. He locked the doors and went inside. For 2 hours, I sat cuffed in the back seat, watching people come and go under the neon sign. When he finally came out, he stumbled once, caught himself, and opened the driver's door. The whole car filled with the smell of alcohol. I started yelling before he shifted into drive. Call another officer. You can't drive. He turned the radio up. He rolled through the first red light, and he blew straight through the next. I kicked the partition with both feet, but he just sang louder. Then headlights filled my window. A sound blasted so loud it shook the glass. The cop yelled, jerked the wheel, and the whole cruiser folded sideways around the impact. I woke up in the hospital surrounded by beeping machines. I tried to sit up. Nothing moved under the blanket. Not my knees, not my feet. They made me pay $30 for riding a skateboard after dark. The cop paid me $3 million because I never rode one again. The cop grabbed my skateboard out of my hands, snapped it in half over his
Yeah,
knee,
why
and
kids
threw it in
still
the...
go outside and stuff?
I'm Kazi.
My most down bad friend Catalan jumped onto the lunch table and shouted, "Say nothing if you want me." The whole cafeteria went dead silent. He looked down at me, hands on his hips, grinning. Hear that? That's the sound of a room that wants me. He hopped off the table and strolled toward his crush like he owned the floor. The second she figured out what was going on, she shot out of her chair and started screaming at the top of her lungs. Catalan closed his eyes and nodded. That's fine. There's plenty of fish in the sea. He looked around for his next victim, and that's when the entire cafeteria erupted into noise. He started spinning around the room, looking for anyone who was still quiet, and that's when his eyes locked on the back corner. The lunch lady stood at the register in her hairnet, scrolling her phone, not making any noise because she didn't know what was going on. Catalan's grin stretched wide as he pointed at her over everyone's heads. She didn't scream. You know what that means. No, there was no way. He started walking, and the whole room turned to watch. The lunch lady looked up, saw a teenager spreading his arms at her, and screamed louder than the whole cafeteria combined. She stumbled back into the soda machine and jabbed her finger at him. Gerald, we got one! Catalan put his hand on her shoulder and started stroking. There's no need to worry, baby girl, Papa's home. Suddenly, Gerald, the security guard, spun Catalan around and walked him to the doors. Gerald marched him towards the cafeteria door, and Catalan contorted his body backwards to point at her, yelling, "I'll wait for you, my love. I know you want me, and someday we will be together again." No one's seen him since. My most down bad friend Catalan jumped. I was one jump from a new high score in Jetpack Joyride when Mom snatched the iPad out of my hands. Dad towered over me. "You've been playing for 8 hours straight. Go touch grass." My friends groaned from the couch as Mom locked the iPad in a drawer and pocketed the key. If I somehow see you on this iPad again, you're grounded until college. But as soon as they walked off, I grinned at my friends because I wasn't done flying yet. I led them to my dad's garage and I strapped 2 leaf blowers to a hiking backpack, taping the whole rig down tight. I will be beating my high score, iPad or no iPad. One of my friends grabbed the straps while I climbed in and hit both triggers. The blowers screamed and knocked me flat on the grass. My friend shouted, "Angle them down, not back." So I aimed the nozzles down and taped a skateboard to my shoes. Every test pushed me higher, a foot up, then level with the porch rail. We had 30 minutes before my parents came back home, and I was determined to beat my jetpack joyride high score. I waved everyone goodbye and squeezed both triggers as hard as I could. My feet left the grass. The blowers roared, and I shot up over the roof, high enough to see the whole street. My friends screamed from the lawn, but right as I started counting my jumps through the air, I saw my parents pulling into the driveway. Mom and Dad climbed out and stared up at me. Dad pulled out his phone and my hands locked on the triggers because I thought he was calling the police. But then I saw he was filming, grinning so wide I saw it from the sky. "How high can you get this thing?" Mom cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted up at me, "Make 2 more." I didn't stay in the air long enough to beat my high score, but every Saturday, me and my parents fly over the rooftops. I beat them every time, and my dad hasn't told me to touch grass since. I was
How to make a homemade flying machine. The definitions. We have games at home. Touch grass. Nah, I'd rather touch the clouds. Little kid casually has a Rolex.
Jump from a new high score in Jetpack Joyride when Mom snatched the iPad out of my hands. Dad towered over me. "You've been playing for 8 hours straight." Friends groaned from the couch as Mom
Which one is a Rolex?
locked the iPad in a drawer.
Wait, I don't know what you mean. So guys, I think that will be the end of the video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Oh, and
subscribe to my channel. What
I'll
you
leave the link down in the
description.
What?
Wait, how do you say it? You know what I mean.
Description. I'll make sure to like and subscribe. I don't know why I keep stuttering, but peace.